Hello there. This is Jen T. Grace. I am the founder of Publish Your Purpose and the founder of the Institute for Author Growth and Impact. And I'm here for day 5 of our 11-day workshop on using AI as a support system in your book writing process. So, as I will continue to say, this is not to use AI to write your book. This is to use it in support of figuring out what it is that you want your book to do for you, what you want to do for your readers, etc. So we're on day 5. So I'm going to continue using the same example that I have been using throughout. So today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how to use AI to figure out what your book should actually cover. So this almost comes before an outlining phase. So clearly having a good, strong outline is important. That helps us get the writing done. It helps us be more concise and have a direction that we're heading in. And you might not be there yet. You might not quite have what you need in order to figure out how am I actually going to get an outline. So today we're going to talk about how we can use AI to figure out what actually your book should cover. So in the last couple of videos, I have been mentioning that we have a workshop coming up on June 17th. The link to register is in the description below. So if you would like to join the workshop, where we'll take all of the stuff that we're talking about now and go deeper with it, please by all means, register below. And so I'm just going to kind of jump right into this because the example that I've been using throughout the conversation for the last, now we're on day 5, it just keeps getting a little bit more robust and a little bit more complex. So let's just look at where we were in day 4. So in day 4, we kind of got a general sense of now where are we headed with our story? And today, the prompt that I want us to use, I'm going to put half the prompt on the screen and I'll do the other half as I've been doing, is we're going to start off with what we've been using. So right now you should already have these blanks filled in, and it should be easy to go grab from the last notes that you took from this conversation and bring it right on over. So we're going to do the same thing we've been doing of my book is for blank who struggles with blank. By the end of the book, I want them to be able to have this specific outcome. So that's kind of the next piece that we're adding here is this specific outcome. From there, we're going to do what are 5 to 7 things they need to understand or experience in order to get there, in order to get to that outcome that we're talking about. And then the prompt is list them in order that makes the most sense for someone starting from scratch. What this is going to do for you is it's going to take and corral all of the different kind of ideas that you might already have and put them in one centralized place where now you can decide, okay, what direction do I want to go in? Because last time when we were talking about what angles and entry points could there be for someone to enter, to write this book. So when you're writing the book, what direction might you want to take it? There's a lot of different directions this can go because that was day 4. So now day 5, we're saying, okay, what does this look like? What are 5 to 7 things that my reader needs to know, understand, experience in order for them to have the transformation that I, as the author, want them to have? So if we use the example that I have been using this whole time, I'm going to kind of walk us through this. And what I'm going to say is when I was writing Publish Your Purpose, which is the lighter blue book behind me, when I was writing that book, I thought having a lot of content was a good thing, which it is. It absolutely is when we're writing a book. And so I took every piece of content I had, I put it into Scrivener, which is a tool that I am obsessed with and have been for the last decade, highly recommend as a writing tool. And so I put all of my everything I had. I had transcripts from conversations. I had, we have a very robust content library. I had videos, I had worksheets, templates, you name it. And I put it all into one document. And that document totaled 533,381 words. Now, it's overwhelming when you're staring at a blank page. I think it might be equally, if not more overwhelming when you're staring at 500,000+ words. So this is what happens when you don't have a structure. This is what happens when you're kind of starting without a map. And I just thought, this is a great way to start. Let me just kind of throw these things in. I was writing this book in 2022, and I was already starting to kind of dabble with AI in 2021, I would say. And obviously things have rapidly changed significantly in the last number of years. But I wasn't using AI in the way that I'm telling you and talking about using AI now, because that absolutely would have like completely saved me from having had 500,000 words in a document that now, it was more overwhelming to kind of comb through and figure out how, like, what to get rid of and what to keep than if I had just started from scratch. So please just don't make my mistake, I guess is my point in sharing that story. So we are now going to say, let's go back, right? My book is for reader, this person who struggles with this problem. By the end of the book, I want them to have this transformation. What are the 5 to 7 things they need to know, understand, or experience in order for them to have that transformation? List them in order that makes the most sense for someone starting from scratch. That is the whole prompt. So now, using my example, so if you've been following along the last number of days, this will sound familiar. Using my example, my book is for professionals at a personal or career breaking point who struggle with knowing there's something bigger for them, but not knowing how to uncover it. By the end of the book, I want them to be able to clearly identify their purpose and start living it intentionally. What are the 5 to 7 things they need to understand or experience in order to get there? List them in order that makes the most sense for someone starting from scratch. So that is what I put into Gemini, and I'm continuing to use Gemini as my source for this particular example. I am a super user of Claude. ChatGPT is great too. Whatever platform you're using, completely agnostic, just whatever one you're using, roll with it. So this has nothing to do with what AI platform you may or may not be using. When I put that in, it gave me 6 really, really detailed core things that it believes that my target reader needs to understand and experience in order for my book to be effective. And so the first one was the myth of the clean slate. And it says what they need to understand. Their breaking point isn't a failure or a sign that they've ruined their life. It's a diagnostic signal that they have outgrown a system, a career, or an identity that was built on external expectations. They don't need to burn their entire life to the ground to find their purpose. So if we look at the prompt, right, like what's something they need to understand or experience, that's really clear. I think it's in a really strong direction. The second one is the difference between function and purpose. What they need to understand. High achieving professionals often confuse what they are good at with who they are. They need to realize that purpose isn't a job title or a specific industry. It is an underlying why that drives their highest state of contribution. And then it keeps going, and it has what they need to understand and the experience. So it has both listed in here because the prompt is giving us to do both. So I'll share the experience for another one. So the third one is uncovering the clue trail. It says the archaeology phase. The experience would be a guided timeline exercise looking back at moments in their life where they most felt alive, mapping the common threads and themes that connect them all. The fourth one is dismantling the safety versus purpose binary. The experience would be a fear-setting exercise where they name and deconstruct the worst-case scenarios, keeping them paralyzed at their breaking point. And then there's number 5 and there's number 6. So number 5 is articulating their North Star. They cannot live a purpose they cannot name. They need a simple, clear, and actionable way to define their purpose so it can act as a filter for future decisions. And then the final one is the microdosing method for living intentionally. What they need to understand. They don't need to quit their job tomorrow to live intentionally. Purpose is lived in the micro choices on a Tuesday afternoon. If they try to change everything at once, they will panic and retreat to safety. I know I just said a lot of information right now because I'm using a real life example, because I think hearing a real life example is better than me just kind of rattling off a number of prompts on a screen. But if we start at kind of the beginning of day 1, where I was like, well, I think it's someone who is struggling with trying to identify what their purpose is, to having the clarity that we have now, and it's only 5 days in, and I have spent 0 time on developing this other than in real time with you in these live sessions. So it's not like I'm going behind the scenes and kind of coming up with different, a different structure for myself just to show you the structure. This is truly solely AI supported. It is just me going in right before, like half hour before I'm going to go live and say, okay, here's the next prompt. Let me kind of figure out what the next prompt is and let me bring it back to you with an example. That's all I'm doing here. So my hope is that you can kind of see if you're just tuning into this on day 5, please go back and watch the first 4 days. but you can kind of see where the looseness and the lack of structure was on day 1 versus where I am on day 5. That when I even started this, to be perfectly honest, my intention, as I had said, was I feel like my books are a trilogy. So the 2 books behind me, Publish Your Purpose and Promote Your Purpose, I feel like they belong in a trilogy, because in order for someone to want to publish their purpose, they need to know what their purpose is. And in order for someone to promote your purpose, you need to know what your purpose is. I talk heavily about defining our purpose in both of these books. It's really kind of the starting framework. But there's a whole lot more that can go into this in terms of identifying and uncovering what our purpose is. So I was just thinking like, hey, this might be something I want to explore. I think there's something here. And now, even 5 days in, spending very minimal time on this, it feels like that I have a really strong structure coming together of what this book could actually look like. So this is the benefit of how we can use AI as a thought partner. I will continue to say this. This is not a this is a starting point for you. This is not meant to be prescriptive. I'm not trying to be an AI evangelist and get you to use something you're not comfortable with. If you want to go a more, anti-AI or non-AI route to do this, by all means. Like, I'm not trying to pressure you into anything. I just want this to demonstrate how powerful it can be in terms of helping you get new ideas and see things differently. And then when you have that kind of different structure, you can take it to whatever writing tool you're using and just go write your heart out, because now you have more clarity and more direction. You're not saying to your AI, like, okay, now write me my introduction. That is not at all what this is about. This is very much about, okay, I'm ready to write an introduction. What's the best way I should approach this? What should I include in it, right? So this is not about having AI replace your voice, because I do not stand for that. That is not my jam at all. However, I do think AI can be an incredible thought partner and an incredible tool to help us get there faster. So that is day 5's content. Day 6 is coming up on Wednesday, June 6th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're going to talk about why your writing plan keeps failing and how AI can help you solve it. So a lot of times, writing plans don't fail because you're not disciplined enough. It's most often because you're designing your plan around what you think somebody else is doing, and that does not help us. So we're going to talk about how AI can help solve that problem. So a reminder again, the workshop is on June 17th. If you would like to join me, I would love to have you there. The link is in the description below. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a direct message on whatever platform you might be watching this on. You can also send me an email. I'm happy to support you in your journey in whatever way that looks. So thank you for being here, and I will see you on Wednesday. Have a